Today we're going to talk about the aviation insurance market insights and forecasts from an expert, Glenn Brighton. So, Glenn, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you both.
Question. Nice to see you too. So my first question for you, what is the biggest trend that you're currently seeing in the aviation insurance market?
Okay, I guess it would be pretty obvious right now. The market is in a state of distress. Most probably is the best way of describing it because of the events in Ukraine and Russia, and obviously the recent events in Israel and Palestine. That's had a big effect on markets as well. So the last few years, really, I mean, following COVID, have been up in the air. And what we're now seeing is markets trying to, reflect on that, trying to work out what their positions are currently, maybe where they're going to go in the future. And I'd say, over the last few years, we've definitely seen premium for pretty much every sector of the aviation market go up. So that's airlines and general aviation, airports, and people like that. They've all seen their premiums go up. What we've also seen is underwriters looking at the kind of coverages that they're offering and reducing levels of coverage. So it's been a double whammy for many buyers of insurance because prices go up and coverage goes down, which is not very good. But that's the state of the market. And I guess until events of the world, geopolitical events of the world change, I can't see that really changing much. But I think that underwriters are looking at every different client on their own individual merits and trying to make up their mind whether they're a good risk or a bad risk. So that's the current marketplace.
So you're talking about geopolitical risk and the whole war market. Could you specifically talk about the Russian-Ukraine conflict and how that has impacted the market?
Well, obviously, it's had a direct impact on the lessor and leasing market more than anything else, because most of the aircraft that were stuck in Russia after the invasion of the Ukraine are now either still there. Some of them have come out and people have been doing deals in 2023. I think a great number of aircraft have come out, not all of them, obviously. Many of them are still there, and most probably coming up to 2 years later, most probably are not coming back. And if they do come back, maybe in not a position that we'd be happy with. So there is a claim going on in the market right now that's going to be seen. I think it's next August, and it will shed some light on our the legal system sees that claim. And until then, it's going to be really difficult for everybody involved to actually say what's going to happen next. I mean, will there be a resolution? Will there be a claim paid? Will there be some sort of deal made between insurers and those clients? We really don't know. But right now, it's a really difficult position. And of course, in the meantime, those leasing companies are still buying policies from the same markets, and it's quite an interesting position when you think about that, because it's a small world when it comes to aviation insurance, and there's nowhere else to go. But I think that both sides want to see resolution in 24, and it would be nice to see a future where everybody's getting back on with what we want to be doing, which is leasing aircraft and financing aircraft to airlines, and that's the aim, I think, for both sides.
And so how do you think the policies will be affected, especially probably we talk about a permanent increase in premium, especially if the results of those claims are negative for the whole war market. So how do you think the policy will be affected for airlines and leasing companies?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, the whole war policy will be changing. I can't believe we'll ever go back to the stage where the confiscation coverage, for instance, is just a free-for-all and it's without aggregation. I think insurers are now very aware that there's a potential for massive losses. So, we've already seen that most airline policies have renewed with much smaller aggregate limits. Whole war aggregates have also decreased, and that's something that we would expect. So I think it's most probably a part of the risk that no one's really concentrated too hard on. No one ever expected, a nation state to do what it's done and to cause such a huge potential loss to the market. And I think that what they'll be trying to do is make sure that that can never happen again. So I can see that the market is already going down that route. And once maybe the claim, if there's a claim paid, if that happens, we'll have some, more ideas about how we can change that in the future if we need to, what kind of protection that, clients need. And maybe we'll all sit around a table and discuss exactly what we should be doing for our clients.
Thank you, Glenn. And so now moving on to another topic, I would like to ask you, are you seeing any other changes in the industry that are driving big changes, considerations for the insurance market?
Well, thinking post events of the last few years and maybe the future, I mean, one trend that we're definitely seeing is obviously, and I'm sure you've noticed that the world of aviation is much, much safer than it ever has been in my career. And we got to the point now, where if we get 1 or 2 major losses a year, it's a lot. And when I will tell you, when I first started 40 years ago, we were getting 1 or 2 a week. So to get to the state of the world where a major loss is big news is fantastic. But of course, when it does come down to operating aircraft, they are more expensive. And if you're an aviation insurer, maybe not losing the aircraft is the big problem anymore. It's when it has some kind of accident or scrape or bump, it's actually much, much more expensive to repair aircraft than ever before. So what we used to call attritional losses are now much, much higher. And instead of, a small repair maybe costing $1 million, now we're seeing a lot more, much, much bigger, more expensive repairs. And of course, that, adds up. And when you consider how many aircraft are in the world and how many operators there are, it doesn't take too much, to cause hundreds of millions of dollars of losses per year just in small minor claims. So that's something I think that insurers are going to be concentrating on. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point underwriters again look at the deductible levels. It's been looked at many times over the last 10, 15 years. I wouldn't be surprised if when things calm down a little in the world, if there's not another vision of, maybe we can do something that way, because the deductible levels that we currently have are very, very old. They're most probably 20, 25 years old, maybe even longer than that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if there was something that was changing. And of course, the other element of that is inflation. We're seeing repairs go up and costs go up because everything's got more expensive. From most probably the cost of the actual repair to getting it done, to the people involved, to all aspects of our lives. And inflation is affecting aviation just like everything else. So it's definitely a single part of it that's got to be considered, I think.
And so, Glenn, do you have any predictions for 2024 beyond the issues that we just discussed for the aviation insurance market?
Do you know what? I'd like to sort of go back to being friends again, because I feel like the marketplace and its clients has rather fallen out of love with each other over these events of the last few years. And I know we had COVID, and I think that, we got to a place where that was all over and the world opened up again. But these events have really stopped us all from getting back in together into a room and hopefully coming up with the right package of insurance for our clients to make it work for them, but also to be friends and to understand that this is all about relationships. And that is the one thing I feel that I'm missing in my life anymore. I've done very little travel over the last few years. I want to go back to seeing my clients and saying that the aviation insurance market's by your side, which is something I've always felt it was. And I've always felt over the last 20, 25 years that we are people that come to the table with our clients' best interest at heart. And whilst I don't think that's changed, I just think there's been a tense standoff because of the events and how big they were and the confusion about whether things were covered or not. And that'll all work out. But I think that the long-term relationships that people have had, that's where we want to go back to. I I think people need to trust their broker, trust their insurer, and as a client, whether it be an airline or a leasing company, I think they want to come into our market and feel like they can trust us again. And that's something that we're all trying to do all of the time, and it's the most important part for me going forward.
Thank you, Glenn. That was a positive note, and so that concludes our interview. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Pleasure.